the vice president has been a black woman her whole life. I know that Donald Trump tried to say that she just became one at some point in time. I got news for him. She came into this earth as a black woman. She will leave this earth as a black woman. And so what people don't understand is that this is the skin that she has lived in. And she has consistently been in spaces that others said that she should never, ever enter, right? Like, she has consistently shattered glass ceilings. And so this is someone that is used to people looking at her and believing that she's inferior simply because she's a woman and or a woman of color, when in reality, they knew that they were the ones that probably were not on her level and probably should never have been in the same spaces with her. And so I think that she is handling this with the grace that she has, but at the same time, just like Simone Biles knew how to clap back, when we saw the vice president right here in Atlanta, Georgia, clap back and say, listen, you got a lot to say it to my face. What he's gonna learn is that black women, one thing we are very good at is the clap back. And we know how to stand on business. And I think that that's what we're gonna see. But one of the important points that I do wanna make about NABJ and the fact that Donald Trump had to sit down for an actual interview, for actual journalism, this is what is so threatening for him. This is why in Project 2025, they don't want independent journalism, which is one of those things that we value in a democracy, is the freedom of press. And it's something that they are trying to make sure that we can turn back the hands of time on. This is why he loves a person like Putin, because Putin controls the propaganda. And that's what he's gotten out of Fox News. I thought that Fox News would decide that they would go back and want to do the right thing after they got sued for millions and had to pay up. But listen, so long as people are tuning in, they're making that money back again, and they continue to pretend to be, I call them faux news, right? Like, they pretend to be actual journalists, but they're not. What we saw was actual journalism. And honestly, the only time that Donald Trump seems to be challenged is when there is a black woman on the other side, whether we're talking about Letitia James, or we're talking about Fani Willis, or we're talking about the vice president who will become the president, or we're talking about those black women journalists such as Rachel that decided that they were going to say, no, sir, and follow up and try to get answers. It's what we actually needed in the last debate. And if he does decide that he's going to come out from his scary little corner and debate the vice president, I do hope whoever ends up being the moderators, that they learn a thing or two and go back to what journalism looks like, and they hold his feet to the fire.
That was Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett absolutely shredding Donald Trump. And two notable things really stick out to me. One is the criticism that Republicans want to make of Kamala Harris saying that she's unqualified to be president, which is just absolutely absurd. Someone who was a district attorney, an attorney general, a senator, and now the vice president of the United States, incredibly qualified. But if that wasn't enough, Kamala Harris has been elected more times. She's won more elections and has been in public office longer than J.D. Vance and Donald Trump combined. So let's get that out of the way. But Jasmine Crockett also says something in that clip that always makes me laugh, and she's brought up a couple of times, and that's Donald Trump is so afraid to debate Kamala Harris, as we've talked about on this show, because he sees so many prosecutors in his private life when he's off the campaign trail. He's in court so often that he doesn't want to have to run into a prosecutor on the debate stage when he sees Kamala Harris. He's done being prosecuted. He just can't handle it anymore. He doesn't want to face accountability for his criminal action, let alone his failed record as president of the United States. And Jasmine Crockett got into Donald Trump's failed record, both as president and in his life growing up. And this next clip that I think is just perfect.
Yeah, you know, what is so frustrating is that these are the guys that their answer to everything is DEI, and they are basically trying to minimize black folk and saying the only types of jobs that we can have are the jobs, say, that someone who's immigrating from somewhere else and coming to our country, which for the most part, these are entry-level jobs. Those are the only jobs we're qualified for, right? Like, you can't be the GOAT when it comes to the Olympics. You can't be me and sit in Congress. And the reality is that these are people that are not qualified for the positions in which they're running for. And it is a threat when you are a Donald Trump who just happened to be born with a silver spoon in his mouth, who never worked for anything a day in his life. And when he did start working, it was always trying to perpetrate a fraud. That's what we saw him do with his businesses, whether we're talking about real estate or if we're talking about his fake universities. It's always been a fraud. And right now he's trying to perpetrate a fraud on the American people, not once, but for a second time. And we rejected it the second time. And I'm looking forward to him being rejected again when a black woman shows him that her black job, her next black job, is being the president of the United States.
As I said earlier, Republicans want to level this accusation against Kamala Harris that she's unqualified. But like Jasmine Crockett said, Donald Trump grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth. He has never done anything but cheat and steal and act in the most corrupt ways to undermine everyone around him because he only cares about himself. And that's been his entire life. That was his presidency. It was about big tax cuts for corporations and his wealthy friends, which is what he is promising in a second term. Of course, we want to talk about the dangers of Project 2025, but we also want to talk about the dangers of what Donald Trump has already said. He's trying to hide Project 2025 away, but let's talk about what he's said out loud. And that's to big, rich donors and oil executives that he's given them huge tax cuts if he is reelected. That's Donald Trump saying he wants to be a dictator on day one if elected. These are the things that Donald Trump is saying out loud, and we really need to listen to them. And it's, again, not just that. It's not just Donald Trump's agenda. It's not just Donald Trump's failed record, but it's who Donald Trump is. And that is a criminal. And Jasmine Crockett called him out for that in front of Congress in a clip that I just absolutely love. And so we're going to play it.
They found him guilty not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4, not 5, not 6. I could keep going on, but 34 counts were given. So the opinions of these people who were not juries is not what we do in this country. In this country, we have a system in which jurors decide who is found guilty, and if you have a problem with that, you go to the appellate court, which the last time I checked, he was raising money so that he could go to the appellate court and appeal his decision, and they will have the final say-so. Thank you so much.
Republicans can try to make excuses for Donald Trump, and believe me, they have and they will continue to. But what was decided in a court of law when Donald Trump was found guilty by a jury of his peers, that can't be disputed. No matter what Matt Gaetz or Marjorie Taylor Greene or James Comer want to say, that can't be changed. Republicans right now are trying to get rid of Donald Trump's impeachments in the House. That's the agenda of the Republican Party. Let's be real right now. The agenda of the Republican Party right now is to expunge Donald Trump's impeachments from his last presidency to make it look like he's less of a failure. So he isn't the only president to have been impeached twice and be a criminal. They just want him to have criminality because that's okay with Republicans apparently. But they want to make every excuse for this guy possible, but there just really aren't any. And it's so funny when they make these excuses for Donald Trump because it points out the hypocrisy that is key to the MAGA movement, this cognitive dissonance, this MAGA mindset that we talk about that is so key to embracing the cult of MAGA. It's saying back the blue when Donald Trump incited a violent mob to attack Capitol police officers. It's saying that you're tough on crime when your candidate is a criminal. It's saying that you care about border security when Donald Trump blew up the bipartisan border deal. This is the hypocrisy of MAGA, and it needs to be called out. And that's why we always play Jasmine Crockett on the show, because she calls out that hypocrisy. She does it with some serious style. And if you want to see more clips of Jasmine Crockett on this show, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. You are subscribed to this channel, and leave a like if you enjoyed this video. It would really mean a lot to me. And if you are enjoying this community that we are building, this new channel, and want to support it, you can hit that join button. You can become an exclusive member of the show. It really helps support this new and growing channel that we are building and would mean the world to me. And until next time, I'll see you soon.